Welcome to the Deep Dive by 5W Media. Today, we're really diving into leadership communication. It's a huge topic. And you, listening, you'll get a chance to really understand what makes communication, well, effective when you're leading. We've pulled together some pretty diverse perspectives, business leaders, military folks, even philosophy and comedy.
Yeah, real mix. The goal is to kind of synthesize all that, isn't it?
Exactly. Find those practical takeaways, the things you can actually use, sort of a shortcut to being a better leader through communication.
Okay, sounds good. Where should we start?
Okay, let's unpack this first one. Gary Vaynerchuk, he uses this really vivid analogy. The CEO is a ship captain, always scanning for icebergs. What's the core idea there for you?
Well, it's that foresight piece, isn't it? The leader often sees things coming that the team maybe focus on the day-to-day, just doesn't.
Right, they're dealing with the here and now.
Exactly. So Vaynerchuk's point, I think, is not just about having the vision, but about the crucial need to, well, communicate it.
Clearly.
Effectively.
Because the team might not see that iceberg at all.
Precisely. So the takeaway for you is you can't just assume people see what you see. You've got to paint that picture, connect the future threat or opportunity to what they're doing right now.
Makes sense. And he also talks about different styles, the parent CEO versus the babysitter CEO. How does that relate to communication?
Yeah, that's interesting. The parent, as he puts it, gives space, allows for learning, maybe even mistakes.
But still ensures high-level execution.
Right. Whereas the babysitter might be more about just making sure nothing goes wrong immediately. So the communication style for that parent leader needs to be supportive, guiding.
But not micromanaging.
Definitely not micromanaging. It's about setting clear expectations, being there for guidance, but trusting people to do their jobs.
He does warn about creating entitlement, though, with too much hands-off.
Yes, that's the flip side. You have to communicate why things are successful. It's not just the team's execution, though that's vital. It's also the strategy, the leader's decisions, the direction. That needs to be clear.
So owning the overall picture.
Owning the whole picture, yeah. And that sometimes involves those tough calls, right? The ones that are good for the macro level, the whole company.
Even if they cause some friction locally.
Exactly. And communicating that takes skill. You need transparency. You need to explain the why behind it, even if the message isn't popular. It's about maintaining trust through difficult information.
Okay, let's shift a bit. Andrew Bustamante from an intelligence background, he offers the 4 C's.
Ah, yes. Consideration, consistency, collaboration, and control.
When you look at those 4, what really jumps out for leadership communication?
Well, they all build on each other, I think.
Yeah.
That's about building rapport, right? Understanding the other person in your communication.
Okay.
Consistency, well, that builds trust. People know what to expect from your messages, your stance. Collaboration is obvious, getting buy-in, working together.
And control, that sounds a bit authoritarian.
I don't think he means it that way. It's more about being proactive, intentional in your communication strategy, not letting things drift. It's about guiding the communication, not dictating it.
Got it. So it's a framework for building that solid base.
Yeah, exactly. A foundation of trust through consideration and consistency, then empowering through collaboration, all while keeping a strategic hand on the tiller, so to speak.
Bustamante also talks a lot about soft skills, persuasion specifically. He says it's rooted in emotion.
Which is so true, isn't it? Logic only gets you so far. Influence, persuasion. That often comes down to connecting on an emotional level, understanding what motivates people, what their values are, what they care about.
So for a leader, it's about shaping messages that resonate emotionally.
Right. Crafting narratives that connect. If you understand those emotional triggers, you can communicate in a way that doesn't just inform, but actually drives action. It makes the message stick.
Yeah, that makes sense. There was that survey insight mentioned, too, about technical skills often being prioritized over soft skills.
Which is a classic mistake, especially in leadership. Those communication, persuasion, empathy skills, they are absolutely critical. You can have all the technical know-how, but if you can't communicate, connect, persuade, you won't be an effective leader.
Okay, moving on to the art of conversation itself. Lucas Bailey calls communication the most important life skill, and he really focuses on listening.
Oh, hugely important. We all learn to speak, but how many of us really learn to listen, truly listen?
What's the difference then, hearing versus listening in this context?
Well, hearing is passive, right? The sound goes in. Listening, especially active listening, is about focus. It's about genuinely trying to understand the other person's perspective, not just waiting for your turn to talk.
Trying to grasp their meaning, their feelings.
Exactly, their underlying concerns. What's not being said sometimes.
Balazi also mentions coming into conversations with context and empathy, not just your own agenda. How does that change things?
It changes everything. If you walk in just thinking about what you want to say or achieve, it becomes transactional. But if you start with trying to understand their context, their situation, and showing empathy.
Trying to see it from their side.
Yeah. Then you build rapport.
Yeah.
They feel understood, which makes them far more receptive to whatever you need to discuss. It creates a real connection, not just an exchange of information.
Stephen Bartlett from Diary of a CEO seems really good at this, picking up on subtle things, allowing pauses.
He's a great example. That ability to be fully present, to notice a slight hesitation or a comment someone makes almost as an aside. That's where real insights can come from.
And the pauses. We often rush to fill silence, don't we?
We do, especially now, with Zoom calls and constant notifications. But allowing that space, that silence, can be incredibly powerful. It gives people time to think, to perhaps share something deeper. Bartlett uses that really effectively.
He's also known for being quite direct and vulnerable, sharing his own faults. What's the power in that for a leader?
Oh, immense power. It builds trust like nothing else. When a leader is authentic, admits mistakes, shows they're human, it makes it safe for others to be open too.
Breaks down those hierarchical walls.
Absolutely. It fosters a culture of honesty and transparency. People are more willing to bring up problems or share ideas if they know the leader isn't pretending to be infallible.
Balazi also had that point about sometimes saying less, resisting the urge to jump in, especially in difficult conversations.
Yeah, that's hard to do, but so important. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just listen. Let the other person speak fully. Don't feel the need to comment on everything or fill every gap. That space can be where understanding happens.
Okay, let's talk about leadership presence. Simon Sinek defines it as authentically connecting with others' thoughts and feelings to inspire. It's more than just being outgoing, right?
Much more. It's about that genuine connection. And Sinek makes a crucial point about the weight of a leader's words when they have presence. Well, a simple compliment from a leader with presence can really land, really motivate someone. But conversely, an offhand, maybe even unintended negative comment can do disproportionate damage.
So leaders need to be almost hyper-aware of their words.
Ultra-sensitive is how it's put.
Yeah.
Because your words just carry more weight when you're in that position of authority and you've established that presence.
Sinek also touches on presentation appearance, body language. How does that fit into communication?
It's the nonverbal side,
Right.
which are huge. Your posture, eye contact, how you carry yourself. It all sends messages.
Yeah.
It can reinforce your words or completely undermine them.
Like sitting up straight.
Yeah, even something as simple as that. It communicates attentiveness, confidence, respect for the conversation. It's a nonverbal cue that says, I'm engaged, I'm leading.
Right. Okay, let's bring in Jocko Willink. SEAL Team's background, he talks about leadership being about relationships and communication, regardless of rank.
Yeah, his perspective is interesting because it democratizes leadership in a way. Everyone has a role in influencing others through communication towards the goal.
It's not just the person with the title.
Not at all. And his concept of extreme ownership, that applies directly to communication.
How does that work?
It means you take full responsibility, not just for what you say, but for whether the message was actually understood. If communication fails, the leader owns it and figures out how to communicate better next time.
Yeah.
No blaming the receiver.
That's a high bar.
It is. He also talks about the dichotomy of leadership, that balance between being hands-on and hands-off.
And communication must be key to navigating that.
Absolutely. You need to communicate clearly when giving direction, but also communicate trust when stepping back. Knowing when to ask questions to guide someone versus just giving them the answer, it requires adaptable communication.
Okay, let's bring in philosophy, Ryan Holiday, and Stoicism. The idea that the greatest empire is command of oneself, including communication.
Right. The Stoics really emphasized internal control. It's not events themselves that upset us, but our judgments about them.
So how does that apply to a leader communicating?
Well, it means you can consciously choose how to frame your messages and how to interpret responses. Instead of reacting emotionally to push back, for example, you can pause, analyze it rationally, and respond constructively. Control your reaction. Control the narrative.
Holiday mentions the Stoic virtues. Courage, self-discipline, justice, wisdom. Can we see those in good leadership communication?
Definitely. Courage is needed for those tough, honest conversations we talked about.
Like delivering bad news or critical feedback.
Exactly. Self-discipline shows up in listening properly, not interrupting, choosing words carefully instead of blurting things out.
Okay. And justice.
Justice in communication would be about fairness, transparency, considering the impact of your words on everyone involved, being ethical in your messaging.
And wisdom ties it all together.
Wisdom is knowing the right thing to say, the right way to say it, and the right time to say it. It's the overarching guide for applying the other virtues in communication.
What about amor fati, loving your fate? How is that relevant to communication challenges?
It's about acceptance and resilience. Communication doesn't always go perfectly. Messages get misunderstood, conflicts arise. Amor fati suggests accepting these challenges as part of the process, maybe even opportunities to learn and adapt your approach. Don't get derailed by setbacks.
Learn from the miscommunications.
Precisely. Turn them into learning moments rather than sources of frustration. Holiday also warns strongly against ego in communication.
Why is ego such a problem?
Because it shuts down listening. It makes you defensive. You become more concerned with being right or looking good than with actually connecting or understanding. It blocks genuine dialogue and feedback.
It gets in the way of connection.
Completely. Self-discipline helps counter that ego, keeping you focused on effective communication rather than self-aggrandizement. And justice reminds you to think about the ethical side, the impact on others. Holiday suggests journaling actually is a way to slow down, reflect on communication, and stay grounded in values.
Interesting. Okay, one more perspective. Trevor Noah. His insight is that connection matters more than perfect language.
Yes, I love that point. He learned languages not just to speak them perfectly, but to connect with people, to bridge divides.
So the lesson for leaders is...
Don't get too hung up on jargon or sounding overly formal or perfect. Focus on being understood. Use language people can relate to. Speak to them like they matter, like individuals.
Is that bridge?
Build that bridge. Make them feel seen, heard, and part of something collective. It's about reaching the person, not just delivering the data.
So wrapping it all up, it seems like effective leadership communication is this blend of, well, a lot of things. Clarity, foresight, empathy.
Self-awareness, discipline, courage, authenticity.
And that fundamental desire to actually connect with people, to understand and be understood.
Absolutely. It's not just one skill, is it? It's a whole suite of skills and attitudes constantly being refined. It's about how you build relationships and guide people through your words and actions.
A continuous journey, really.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully this deep dive has given you some valuable insights and maybe some strategies you can use. Remember, it's not just the words, but the connection, the clarity, the overall impact. If you like what you are hearing from us, please subscribe. Also, if you would like and share this video, it helps us tremendously and means so much to us. Please also leave a comment. We want to know what you think and value ideas you might have for future podcasts. Thanks for tuning in.